Okay, hello, welcome. This is Brett with the Paperstac team, and I have Alex Del Torre here from Graba Investments, which is an investor on the Paperstac platform. As you guys know, in the TARDIS groups, I have been speaking and being the boy who cries wolf about making a product specifically for investors on the TARDIS group. I had the great time to hang out with Alex at Node Expo in November, and we got to sit around and kind of master around and come up with a product that we think would be perfect for TARDIS investors, something that has terms that match what TARDIS investors are looking for. It has the price points and it has the protections. And so, without further ado, say hi, Alex.
Yeah. So again, first of all, I want to thank you very much for having me on. And as you mentioned, I am extremely happy to be a part of working with you guys because I sell a lot of notes on your platform. I want to clarify it's Graba Equity Corp. It's the way we're on there as a seller, Graba Equity Corp. But man, I love to be around your organization from the business that we do, but also just hanging out and talking and seeing how much you guys care for your investors and trying to bring a product to people and innovate. Right, that's one of the things that I think we're all on the same page here is trying to figure out a way to bring things. So a split payment partial is not new. It's something that's existed in the past. It still exists. I mean, it's not something I came up with, but a way to sell a note that's not necessarily um, it's not as beneficial to the seller, right? The seller of the note, like myself. Whenever I sell a note, a whole note, I get all my money now and I'm done, and I'm gonna move on to the next. When you sell a split payment partial, what you're selling is a portion of the income as well as a portion of the note. So, in a split payment partial, the investor purchases a percentage of each payment made by the borrower. For instance, if the original note requires a monthly payment of $1,000, the investor may acquire 50% of each payment, or $500 per month, or 10% of each payment, which is $100 a month. And this strategy provides a steady income stream for the investor. So that's kind of what a short version of a split payment partial is. Now there is ownership. The note there, that 10% fraction of that note is transferred to the note buyer. So you do become an owner of the note with us.
Nice. Okay, I like that. And so, what type of note buyers would benefit from this? If I'm a buyer that's haven't purchased a note, what kind of note buyer would be the beneficiary of something like this?
Yeah, great question. So it's not. This is not for everyone, right? This isn't definitely not a product for everyone. Just like how buying an entire note is not beneficial for a newbie who has no idea what to do and they're scared of pulling the trigger and moving forward, even though they want to do it. And if a lot, I know that one of the things we've talked about was there's a lot of people that have taken education and want to do it. And so the three people I came up with that would benefit from this are the new note investor who has little or no experience in purchasing a note. This option gives them gives the note buyer the opportunity to invest with someone experienced and is also managing the note with the borrower or managing the borrower, really, right? So this makes it a true passive investment because if you're buying it from us, I'm there handling the borrower if there ever was a problem. And when there isn't a problem, there isn't a problem, right? It's when there is a problem that experience matters. So, also the investor who has small amount of capital. So, someone who doesn't have a lot of money available to invest, which is a big one. I know I talk to people all the time. Hell, even big investors. Investors have a lot of money. Sometimes end up with a little bit of money left over from a purchase, and they would just have it sitting there and not doing anything. So, this is an option. They can come in and buy a small portion of a note. This can be someone who has a self-directed IRA or wants to reinvest dividends from mortgage payments they have received already from another note, right? So in this way, they can maximize their compounding interest. The last one would be an investor who would like to mitigate risk, and that's someone like me. I spread his or her investment into several notes instead of purchasing one big note and essentially putting all their eggs in one basket. They can spread their risk by, if they have $100,000, by $10,000 fractions into different notes, as an example. And now, if kind of the apartment building model, if you're a landlord and if you only have one house and that house is vacant, you have 100% vacancy. If you have 10 apartments an apartment building, and you get one unit that vacates, you still have 9 occupied. So 9 people are still paying rent while you reload that one unit. So that's how I think that it's actually what attracts me. I'm that kind of investor. I'd like to mitigate risk by spreading it. So
Well, that's smart. I mean, it's a smart way to do it. I mean, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket unless you watch that
yeah,
basket really well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's interesting. So I'm interested. So tell me, as an investor, how does it work? Like, like I understand conceptually the partial, but tell me, how would this work for someone that's wanting to get into this?
So I'll give you a scenario. It's all hypothetical here, right? So let's say I'm selling a note in 10% increments.
Okay.
So and I retain 10 to 20% of the note. So I'm an investor with you. This is where I put my money where my mouth is, right? So I'm invested with you. So if we have, on 100% ownership of a note, and we're selling in 10% increments, and I sell off, let's say 90% of it in 10% increments, I actually, you end up buying 10% blocks. As an example, if the original loan is for 150,000 and the terms are 11.6%, just rounding out the numbers, interest for 30 years, and the monthly payment would be $1,500 a month. So I'm selling 10 years worth of those payments in 10% portions. So this same loan and payment, only selling 120 payments or 10 years would be 106,139. That would be the unpaid principal balance. So offering that at a 12 yield, meaning I'm giving you a discount. So offering that at a 12 yield, the total sum would be 104,550. So if you bought 10% stake of that, you would be paying $10,455, and you would own 10% of that note for 120 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm only selling 120 months. That's where the unpaid balance is 106,000. And the borrower, when the borrower pays, the note buyer would receive $150 per month for 120 months, or until the borrower pays off, which would then at that point be whatever unpaid balance you have at that time, and it would just pay you off first, and the remaining balance would go to me.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Okay. So okay. I guess my next question is it always going to be 10-year terms, or is that going to be you can be flexible? You can buy more than one. You can buy less.
So the way it sits today, we're only selling 10-year terms, and kind of what you touched on earlier, like kind of a soft opening where we're trying this out and kind of getting feedback from investors. But as of right now, we found that 10 years is a good number for everybody,
Right.
the note seller and the note buyer, right?
Okay.
Where it's not too long for the note buyer and it's not too short for the note seller. And if the buyer agrees to pay for 10, so when you ask if we would do less time, at this time, no, we're only selling 10-year blocks.
Okay.
And as far as percentage, yeah, you can buy more. So I've got one person who's actually looking to buy 30% of one note. So yeah, you can buy, ultimately you're buying it. It's just fractionalized into 30% and that the cost of that.
Interesting. This is okay. Well, this works out. So this is currently being tested on the Paperstac platform, correct?
Yeah, we have one note available on the Paperstac, yeah. And we still have some percentage available to sell. I think we're probably like 60% sold. So I'll probably sell another 30% of it. But then at that point, we'll close that out. Then I'm actually opening one up for next month also. So.
Okay. The ultimate goal is, I know we're doing soft launch currently, but the goal is to have 2 or 3 of these a month for people to choose from, correct?
Yeah.
And all these notes are always going to be pretty much situated in Texas.
Well, the answer yes. I mean, I've invested in other parts of. So I'm a realtor in Texas, and I invest in all the major metros in Texas. And most of in fact, I'd say 99% of my notes are all raw land. And so, and I've got an argument to make about that, and I think I talked about it in
the previous video. Yeah.
Basically, I like land because there's you could do whatever you want and you won't destroy my land.
Yeah.
So if they build a house on it, it only improves the asset, but the land is very safe. So I buy all over Texas, and today one of the other reasons why, and I live in Texas, but the other reason is Texas is a very lender-friendly state when it
Yes.
comes to taking foreclosures and stuff back. So that's why I also love Texas. I mean, if I wasn't in Texas, I'd probably still look to invest here. I have invested in Florida. I have invested in Arizona. I am looking to invest in other parts of the country, but I don't think that's where we're going to be selling partials. At least not right now.
Yeah.
Um, Almost all the partials that will be available will be in Texas, and they'll be managed by me.
Okay, cool. Well, this
So
is good. This is good to get the first initial video out there to the TARDIS members and inside of the groups and get some feedback and see what questions they may have. If they want to reach
can I
out to you
touch
on
on
papers,
one that is? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to touch on something that I think is critical because I've had some questions
okay,
from the same people that reached out, and I think this is important to because I just skimmed over the all the benefit. I skimmed over the numbers, but I think the biggest benefit of buying a note partial is this: in the event of a default, if the borrower is late more than 90 days, I will move your unpaid balance and any payments due to another loan that is current of the same balance. And I will deal with the defaulting borrower myself. So you won't have to deal with it at all. So we create 2 to 3 loans every month. So, and if for whatever reason, one of the loans, the borrower starts going bad, in Texas, we got to give them 90 days to be able to prove that they're not paying and give them a chance to cure. And if not, at that point, we can go after the foreclosure. Well, if the day 90 comes or day 91 comes, at that point, we'll move your loan or your portion of the unpaid balance of that note you purchased to another property or another note, and then I'll deal with the foreclosure. And this makes it, this makes a partial very low risk investment. And since I've vested interest in the back end of the loan, I'm extremely involved in managing the borrower, making this almost a hands-free mailbox investment. And I say that because you know I can't remove all risk.
right?
I'm mitigating and assuming as much risk as I possibly can because we have a machine. We have the capacity to take the property back and then reload the asset and create another note, right? So if you're in Arkansas or you're in Ohio and you buy a note from me or anyone else that's in the land business and you take the property back, you may not know what to do. And I know it's easy because I sell them, so I could sit here and pound that till I'm blue in the face. But this is kind of where the idea came about. Like, man, I have no problem taking the property back. I'll reload the asset. So that's kind of where I say, well, if I am, then why not offer that as a solution and as a benefit to the note buyer, in exchange, offer a partial to them.
No, that's smart. That really is something that I have heard in the groups asked, and it's happened. I know it's happened once with somebody from a TARDIS group that bought a note, that bought it, and the person defaulted. I ended up buying it, so it's one of those things where me and Rick ended up buying it just to, because we, I felt like I
Make good on it, yeah.
yeah, I tell
and that's
people,
where I'm at too.
yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's where I'm at too. I want to make sure that people realize that this is one of the reasons why note partials don't get sold by note sellers, right? Because there's a they're still tied to the asset. And if you're selling the property and you're getting money and you're moving on, now you have the ability to take that money and do something else with it. But now you also have no headaches above you.
right.
So in our case, we're staying because I know that we can do a better job and basically reload the asset much faster and much better than a normal investor. That's why we're staying on. And again, I can't mitigate all risk for you, but I can take. This is probably the biggest risk. I mean, the other worst thing that can happen is we get paid off.
Yeah.
I said, what's the worst thing that can happen to a lender? Is they get paid off, and now you got to go find another asset or another loan to make, right? So, I think this. I haven't seen many people offer this, and I want to emphasize it because there's not a lot of security when you go out and buy an asset other than the actual asset itself. When you buy a note, other than the asset itself, in our case, we're saying, look, we don't even want you to get the property back. We'll keep it. We'll deal with it, and we'll reload you to another property or another loan that's performing and it has at least the equal value or more. And so the goal here is protect you and your investment. And again, without putting a guarantee on it, it's we do put that in our contract so that people do see that we are going to make good on that.
I like it. This is great. Yeah. So like I guess the next steps would be if you and the TARDIS groups have questions, you can come to the Paperstac platform. Alex always has a note for sale under Grab Equity Investments, and I'm assuming you just reach out and say, hey, I heard you. I'm sure you wouldn't mind that. If that's one way they can reach out to you, that's fine. And kind of just talk to you that way and kind of ask, and then we could start a special list just for this asset type. I could set up underneath this video, hey, there's a link that if you'd like to be notified the next time Alex releases one of these assets, put your name below in this email, and as soon as that happens and Alex puts one up, we'll send it out, which we did yesterday, and you got a bunch of people asking you questions already, huh?
Yeah, I'm talking through, and so I want to make sure that people realize So if you go into the link, if you go into the listing, you can actually, without having to buy the note, you can start a conversation with me.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so the reason I do that is also because I want to make it transparent. I want to stay on the platform because I think that's a benefit that you guys bring.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a good place. I like the way you guys do business. I like the way the process works. I think it's safe for the note buyer. It's safe for the note seller. And you guys get paid along the way, which I think is the fairest thing in the world. I mean, what you guys have put together, I think is market changing. I think you guys are going to corner the market. But that being said, if we keep it on there, it allows us to have a full-blown conversation. And I don't mind jumping on the phone. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, I don't mind jumping on the phone. Just whenever we're ready to move forward, we're coming right back onto the platform.
Yeah.
But if you're not ready to buy and just want to talk, I'll be happy to talk to you. And I'll explain it to you in detail. So you mentioned the people that reached out yesterday. We had like 9 people reach out, and I think only 3 or 4 of them actually ready to pull the trigger and buy. And the other 3 or 4 say, hey, look, I love it. I like the idea. I just wanted to get more information, but I'll buy on the next one you have because my money's not ready or I wasn't ready to pull the trigger on this today. And that's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, I think, if you understand, number one reason people don't buy is they don't understand. And a lot of this product is geared to people that don't know, right? So they don't know how to manage the asset. They don't know how to do the due diligence. They don't know how to do. And so I want to take a lot of that away and say, okay, if we're addressing a lot of the big concerns you have, why are you not buying? And if the answer is like, well, I don't have the money, okay, that's fair. I get that. But if your fears are being addressed and the concerns are being addressed and the risk is being mitigated, at that point it's like you really don't want to buy. And you sometimes it's a call out to you, say, hey, maybe I'm not meant for this. But, on that note, the flip side is like, man, I'll take one. I'll buy one from you.
Yeah, the last benefits that Alex did not mention that I think is a great thing is for TARDIS members to know is that when you buy one of these partials, you're not have to worry about getting it recorded out with the county. You have to go through all that, jumping through those hoops, try to learn how to work with the county. Alex has already got it recorded. He couldn't get it. He couldn't be off on the partial if he didn't have it as he wasn't the owner. So he's got it recorded. Yes. And then secondly, is that it's already being serviced. So you already have the servicing set up. You're not having to set everything up with the service. All the stuff that you would even, like, of course, please buy notes on Paperstac, but like all the things you would still have to do after the fact are recording it and getting it set up with the servicer. All those things are done.
And
so
the
basically
custodian. And the custodian. So the original
note
goes to a custodian.
That's
so
right.
That means that, because if I keep the original note, basically I still have the paper, right? So that means that I can do whatever I want with it. So I actually send it off to a custodian. And the reason why I send it to a custodian, if I was selling you the note directly, it would end up going to you.
Right.
You become the new owner of the note. So you get the originals. But in this case, since we're selling fractionalized ownership, we found that the fairest thing to do was to send it to a custodian to hold it. And the custodians hold it. You can always call them, ask them, hey, is this still there? And the only way it would come out of there is if we all agreed to it. So, there is a safety in place for a lot of those things that normally would not. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm proving to you that you should trust me. And so the reason why we do that is to make sure, like you mentioned, they also handle recordings. When we consummate the transaction, you get ownership. You get 10% ownership of the note. We own this together, right? And so that actually gets recorded at the county. So your interest is recorded. This is not a loan. And I want to make sure this is not a security. You're not lending money. You're buying this note with me. You're now a partnership with me. And I say partnership. We're not a partnership as an entity, but we're a partnership that we own 10% of this note together, right? And or we own a percentage of this note together, whatever the percentage ends up being. But your interest gets recorded, so you are protected at the county level where the property is, right? So we record it gets recorded wherever the property is. That's the right way to do it in Texas. And if there's any problems, notifications, you get legal notice. So if there is, as an example, if there was a default, you don't just take my word for it. The servicing company lets everyone know. They send out a letter to everyone that's got an interest in the note saying, hey, these people are behind. We're starting the notification process and the right sequence to be able to foreclose on them if they don't catch it up. And so you're getting notified, whether it's email. You could tell them you want an email or regular mail, how you get communicated to through the servicing company. And so, and then finally, when the note pays off and you recoup all your unpaid balance, you release you transfer the lien back to me.
Yeah.
And so that's like I said, you're actually buying a note. I mean, you're buying a fraction of it, but you're buying a note. So that also helps you launch, right? If you're wanting to go forward and learn how to do it, you can. You'll be involved in a note transaction where you'll learn some of the stuff. I'm not going to sit here and teach you how to do all the due diligence. I think you guys do a great job of teaching them that with the videos you guys give out. But with that being said, you're going to see basically what a whole note transaction looks like. You're going to work with a servicing company. You're going to work with a custodian of documents and what they do. And you'll deal with a borrower. I mean, I'll deal with it, but you'll be notified and you see, yeah, man, I didn't realize that people actually pay on time like they're supposed to. We hear horror stories when people don't. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people will benefit from to getting into note investing is a kind of like we said, like a soft opening, right? Where you're getting involved. You're not getting all the benefit of owning a full note, but you're not getting all the risk either.
That's true. Yeah, and then I guess we'll end it here since we're at 22 minutes. The last thing I want to tell people is that on Paperstac, there's a way to set up a saved search. A lot of people think it's just for filters such as state, note position, whatever. If a seller's active, you can be the first one to know when Alex lists one of these things. If Alex is usually active, so you can go there right now, set up a saved search for Alex's only notes, and so you'll be the first one to know next time he lists one. So with that, yeah, we're gonna, hopefully this will be a good thing, and I look forward to seeing how this goes. And so, yeah, let's here's the 2024. So I'll talk to you soon, I guess, Alex.
Yeah, thank you very much. Say hi to Rick for me, and again, if anyone out there is looking to start a conversation, go on the platform, reach out to me through there, and let me know that you want to talk, and I'll be happy to talk to you and answer any questions you have and concerns.
Cool.
And if you're ready to buy, I mean, obviously we're ready to sell. So, even if I don't have this one available any longer, by the time you reach out to us and this video goes out in February, we're putting one out. So if I know that people that are interested in moving forward, as soon as that one comes out, I'll actually, kind of like you said, we'll shoot out an email to everyone that we know are interested. So the moment the moment the listing goes live, besides the platform letting you know. Well, I think you've actually done a good job of this. You've helped me with sending out emails directly to people. So my idea is the goal for me is to help people get into investing and note investing. Obviously, we'll benefit from it, from being able to sell more of our notes. And then the third thing is I love to see the platform grow, man. I think I've been on it for like 2 years, and I've seen how great of a job you guys do. Being at Note Expo, I think one of the things I'll say is everyone had Paperstac on their mouth, and positive and negative. And I think that's what you need to do when you're changing the market, right? And I think you guys came in and changed the market, and I think you're setting a new standard for a trade platform. And I just don't think that. And here's this literally came from a conversation with you and Rick of what can we do to help more people get into note investing. Man, I've never been asked that, right? I mean, I've sold notes for 5 years now, and this is the first time I was challenged with like, well, can we come up with something that kudos to you guys and again, I want to make sure that that you guys also benefit from this too. So
Cool. I
awesome.
appreciate that. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Cool. All right, then we'll be in touch and let's look forward for the
Yeah.
first one.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate you having me on. Say hi to Rick and the team down there, and look forward to hearing from anyone that's interested.
Sounds good.